quorum. We're at that time, and Shelley Harris is on our Zoom. Ryan Anderson told us he would join us via Zoom as well, but we don't see him. Curtis Whitehead got called out of town on business, so that's what we have this evening. So,
okay, with that, we'll call this meeting to order for this Plan Commission meeting for the City of Santa Clara on October 26th at 5:30 p.m. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation by Commissioner Weston.
All rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful this day for this time that we get to spend as a planning commission for Santa Clara City. We are thankful for this area in which we live, and we are mindful of those who came before us and the heritage that this city has, and would ask you to bless us that we can make wise decisions, that we can be mindful of in the decisions that we are making, that we can look over the details and understand the way things need to work properly for this city to function. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
amen.
Amen. Looking over the agenda, looks like we don't have anything under item 3, but we moved down to item 4 for general business. And recommendations to the first order of general business for item 4, recommendation to the City Council for the preliminary subdivision plat for the Pioneer Point subdivision. That's located at 400 East and Patricia Drive and Pioneer Parkway. Clayton Levitt is the applicant.
Thanks, Vice Chair Blake. I'll go ahead and go through that at this point. This speaker doesn't have a thing on us, so I'll try not to talk too loudly into that. The applicant's Clayton Levitt. He's with Oak Creek and requesting preliminary plat approval for the Pioneer Point subdivision. The Planning Commission will recall that the property rezoning and project plan was approved by the City Council on July 12, 2023. That was adopted by Ordinance 2023-15, which has been attached to your packet. That approval allowed for 82 single-family units and 51 townhome units. And so that's what the applicant has presented at this time. The Planning Commission will also recall that 2 public hearings were held on March 23rd of 2023 and May 25th of 2023. Both public hearings were well attended by residents in the vicinity, and many did speak to the item, to the issue during those public hearings. Now here's a copy of the preliminary plat. Just so you know, for reference, the subject property is just north of Pioneer Parkway, with Patricia Drive running along the eastern boundary and 400 East abutting the western boundary, and then Tuscany Drive runs north of the subject property. So we've gone through the preliminary plat review and looked at everything very thoroughly. We found that city staff has determined it's consistent with the project plan, which was part of the rezoning that we just discussed. And there's a few things I'd like to address or just go through with the Planning Commission at this time. The residential unit count is a total of 133 units on 18.09 acres. That is a density of 7.35 units per acre, which was approved by the adopted ordinance. And then the project phasing plan, I'm going to go down to that and just talk about that because I feel that's an important discussion for this item. That has been updated to make sure that everything that was discussed during the project plan is being met with the project. And so phase 1A, which are these 14 lots that face Patricia Drive, that includes 14 single-family lots with the detention basin that you see right here. That's phase 1A. Phase 1B includes 21 single-family pad lots, some amenity area parking, which you see right here, and project amenities. And the amenities include restrooms with changing areas, a large pool, a hot tub, and outdoor seating, both covered and uncovered area for the community. Phase 2 is this area in yellow, and that includes single-family pad lots with project amenities. These amenities include 3 pickleball courts, a green court open space area with walking paths, and a pavilion. Phase 3 is in the orange here, and that includes 11 single-family pad lots. Phase 4 is in blue, and that includes 19 single-family pad lots with project amenities. The amenity area includes a large green court open space area with walking paths. And then Phase 5 is in the green here, and Phase 5 includes 26 multifamily townhome units and 5 buildings, along with some visitor parking. And then Phase 6 includes 25 multifamily townhome units and 6 buildings with project amenities. And so what we have there is the large green court open space area with walking paths and a large pavilion in that particular area. Now, during the public hearing process, we did a real deep dive on all the stuff required for a project plan, and we got into the building design, the materials, the height, and the setbacks. I don't want to take that deep dive unless you would like me to, but we've explored that multiple times. What I would like to do is just talk about some of the units. So they're proposing some single-family home lots and the wider pad lots, and so they're proposing a Rambler-style home that you would see here. And the home sizes would range from 1,500 to 3,000 square feet, and there would be 4 to 5 different models with varying materials. And so you see the Rambler-style home, but there's also a 2-story style home here. So that's what was presented previously. We do have some narrow lot homes. Unfortunately, I did not include those slides. That's my error, but we had looked at those multiple times where the home was 20 to 25 feet wide, a 2-story home, approximately 1,700 to 1,850 square feet. So there's a number of those style homes. And then we have the 1-story townhomes, and every time we go to this, we get just this little picture, and we have to blow it up. I don't know why it's so little. We'll see if it lets me blow it up. Well, that's the 1-story townhome, and you've seen that before with the blue doors. It includes a 1-car garage, but a 2-car driveway, pretty low, 20 feet tall. And then we have the 2-story townhomes, which we have quite a few drawings on. And there'll be a number of those in that area 5 and area 6 that we just talked about. As far as the open space area, they've submitted a landscape plan that goes through those open space areas, and we can go to that. And nothing's going to go fast. So here's the landscape plan, and so you get a good feel for that. The open space areas, the amenities, the landscaping that they're bringing in. The code requires a minimum of 30% of the project area to be an open space. They're just under 35% at 34.83 or 6.30 acres. They're also putting in an 8-foot public trail, an asphalt trail that would connect up with Tuscany to the north. And then that was required as part of our 2018 Trails Master Plan. And the trail will tie in with the existing trail along 400 East and along the Tuscany project, which provides connection to other trails. They will be required to meet our landscape, our water efficient landscaping and conservation ordinance, and a secondary water system or connection will be required for the outdoor water use. If I go back to the plat itself, it just goes through the cross sections. Again, they're putting in a public street, which we've talked about previously, and the public street system within the interior of the project will be this 45-foot cross section here, which is a public street, curb and gutter and sidewalk on each side. And then we have a small area of two private driveways adjacent to a couple lots 38, 39, and 59 and 60, providing access to just a couple lots. The parking, they've done a deep dive on the parking for the overall site. And we can go to the legend on that. That might be the second page. We'll go to the next one. But they do have quite a bit of parking. There's 203 parking spaces for the 51 multifamily townhome units. This equates to 4 parking spaces per unit. An additional 20 surface parking spaces have been provided adjacent to the project amenities in Phase 1B and within Phase 5. Our code, Chapter 1732, requires 2 parking spaces per unit, 1 covered and 1 uncovered. Each of the single-family lots or pad lots have been designed to include a 2-car garage plus a 2-car driveway, so the parking is more than ample. We have reviewed a geotechnical report, a subsurface investigation. It indicated that the site is suitable to support residential slab-on-grade construction. We did receive a traffic impact study from Hales Engineering, and it talks about, the level of service being acceptable at the intersections of the project, which would be both 400 East as well as Pioneer Parkway. Although we know that no traffic has picked up in the city in this area, this provides a good level of service with the amount of units being proposed according to the transportation engineer. They are proposing a block wall, and that's something that we've talked about previously, and hopefully I have the drawing here. And so the block wall, a 6-foot wall, privacy wall, will be required along Pioneer Parkway and 400 East. A detailed color sample has been included, which you see here. We're recommending that a more specific detail be required at final plat submittal. This is good for now, but they'll need to come back at final plat and take a look at the intersections here and the corners to make sure there's enough site visibility. So in certain sections, that fence may need to taper down to like 3 feet in height rather than the 6 feet in height at these project access points. But we like the direction it's heading in. Owner occupancy is key on this. According to that ordinance 2023-15, which the county adopted on July 12th of 2023, it requires that a minimum of 50% of all units in the Pioneer Point project be owner occupied. So that's a condition. And then a copy of the project CCNRs will be required, and that needs to be submitted for city staff and legal counsel to review at the final plat submittal. Talked to Matt Entz, our attorney, about that. And then dust control is always an issue, so we have a condition that indicates a dust control plan is required for review and approval by city staff before a grading permit can be issued for site work. The health, safety, and welfare of adjacent residents must be considered. We have not received responses or any comments from the neighborhood as of the writing of this staff report. The agenda has been posted on the city website and other locations as required by state code. Section 524202. City staff's determined that all state code requirements have been met with the application. Our reviewing departments, including the building department, parks and recreation, police and fire, power and public works, have reviewed the preliminary plat and are good with it moving forward. Our city staff recommendation is as follows. City staff recommends that the Planning Commission consider recommending preliminary plat approval for the Pioneer Point subdivision to the City Council subject to the following conditions. And the conditions in the staff report, we have a total of 16, and those conditions follow the narrative or background under the preliminary subdivision plat review items. I'll turn the time back over to you, Vice Chair Blake. That's what I have at this point. And our applicant, Clayton Levitt, is present.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion with the Plan Commission? I have one question. So this point, we'd be approving the phasing plan too?
Yes.
Or recommending approval for the phasing plan? To me, I question the access with how it's being phased. Seems like we're gonna have a fair number of units with only one access.
Okay. Well, let's ask the applicant to speak to that.
It seems like we would want that to come in, the second access to come in a little sooner than, what phase is that? Is it 3?
I think it's 3.
Looks like phase 4. In
Phase
the
4.
blue,
Yeah, it's 4.
the purple blue or violet.
So I know it's a public safety issue that usually if you get more than 30 units, you have to have another access, and you're gonna have more than 30 units after phase 2.
So we also talked a little bit about having a construction access point so that it would be available for that very reason.
So are we gonna build like a temporary from phase 1 to like, what's that road by Tuscany?
I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere off of Tuscany. Tuscany or 400 East will be doing some type of additional access point for construction, and also it would allow a secondary access if needed.
Okay, can we add like a condition that we recommend, another condition that a second access be provided once 30 units are hit?
A temporary, yeah. Kind of
Temporary?
Yeah, temporary access.
Once the 30th building permit's issued or 30th unit, however you want to craft that.
Maybe within the interior, because obviously 1 through 14, they're
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, 1 through 14, I'm not saying that, like, but a second access to the interior units. Once, I would say once 30 lots are approved, or 30 lots are, in order to get 30 lots platted, you need a second access.
Yeah, a second temporary access.
Yes.
Right. We would have, yeah, I mean, we were still in favor of doing it off of Patricia, but of course that wasn't.
Right.
Wasn't
I'm aware of your
wanted.
your constraints
that
on
be-
I
that.
really wanted it.
would that be
That's my understanding of
Yeah.
the fire code and like public safety codes, that you need to have
like a road base?
road-based, some sort of drivable access that the fire truck or whoever can get through there in case the other entrance is blocked. So I'm not, don't necessarily really care where it goes, it just needs somewhere you need to get in there.
Yeah, phase 1B, probably that road would just extend into Tuscany Drive.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because, phase 4, you're gonna have a second one. And then,
Yeah.
But,
So you would have a temporary access off of 1B to Tuscany, is that what you're saying, Clayton?
Yeah, that looks like it'd probably make the most sense. It'd be good construction access and, we could pay, temporary road base down there and
Okay.
I mean.
make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's away from 400 East, so yeah, you'd have 2 ways in and out there. It'd probably be a good spot to do it.
Other than that, I don't really have anything. I think it follows everything was approved and presented with the conditions of the CCNRs having the 50% occupancy and all that.
How does that, what's the penalty? And how do they regulate the 50%?
That's an issue that, the question's been asked to our city attorney, Matt Entz, and
Yeah.
Matt says it has to be enforced by their owners association. We're
Okay.
gonna require that it be documented in their CCNRs, which he's aware of, and that it's in there, but it has to be regulated by the owners association. The city can't. We're just doing our best to put
Yeah.
that in there. And
Yeah.
we will, reach out, I don't know how often, but as needed to see if they're meeting that threshold.
A couple times
So,
a year or something like that?
probably.
Just make an ask?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
Make sure they're,
yeah.
okay.
And that was the overall, not just the multifamily, it's just a straight 50%, so.
Are all the homes in the subdivision able to use the amenities, even 1 through 14, even though they're outside technically? Okay.
I know Shelley's on the call too, I believe.
Does she have any,
Yeah.
Shelley, you have anything?
I don't. It seems to comply with all the discussion that's been had up to this point, so I'm good.
Me? I'll sound naive on this, but when are the roads installed on a development like this? How fast do the phases, are they developed?
That's a good question, we'll put him on the spot.
Well, if you could get the Fed chairman to reduce their interest rates,
I
it would
get
move a
that
lot
part, but-
faster. That's basically, we went through '07 and '08 and weathered that storm, and the way the economy is and the way there's been a big clamp on housing. I know Cody's probably saw a pretty big reduction in pulling building permits since 2020.
I
So
guess
it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to go and improve the whole site today and then sit on the property and get eaten up by,
Okay, that's my question. So the interior road is not put in there until that phase is developed?
correct,
Which is why I was wanting the second.
yeah.
So you are looking at Phase 1A, which is 14 single-family lots to match what's across the street, and then the 1B public improvements would be put in when you're ready to move forward with 1B, as far as the roads?
Yes.
The curb gutter, roadway and sidewalks?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
We're, yeah, our plan is to grade the entire site, balance the site. We've got some soils we need to deal with, and it makes a lot of sense to do that when there's no residents here. And so, and to control. the
I think it's
dust
case
that
by
gets-
case and really up to what the development team wants to do, because we've had some come in, and Logan could speak to this, because he's a professional engineer and works on many subdivisions.
Yeah.
They'll go in and put all those public improvements in and then start building homes. But I think now with the market changes or adjustment, it's probably a phase at a time. What have you been seeing out there?
Yeah, I
Logan?
do, I just do phases at a time because you don't want to have a bunch of empty inventory out there. You need to be able to pay for it kind of as you go, so.
Thank you.
Well, the other big thing is, we did this in '07, we went ahead and improved a phase and didn't build a house on it for 3 years later. And when you don't have cars and so forth going over the asphalt starts to crack and deteriorate and so forth. And so it just makes sense to do it as you being able to sell the homes.
I'm sure they're phased this way because the sewer runs out through by the detention basin, the drainage goes to that corner. He's getting his amenity built in the first phase, which is good, so that people have access to that right off the bat, so. But, yeah. But yeah, it could be a couple of years or something before all of it gets done, I guess.
Yeah, I would
So
think-
Clayton,
Yeah. Go ahead, Shelley. Come on up, Clayton.
so you won't do any of the underground for the future phases up front? You'll just wait and do each one as the economy allows, is what you're
Well,
saying?
Some of the phasing, as far as the improvements we will have to, depending on, for example, I do know that the power, a good chunk of that is going to have to come off Pioneer Parkway, and so we'll have to do that power improvement and take it over here to, at least part of it to 1B and Phase 2. So, but yes, a lot of the utilities are in that northeast corner. The water, the sewer, the irrigation line is in 400 East, and we would bring that in with that 1B improvement. We can also tie into the irrigation line off of Tuscany Drive. I understand that northeast corner of Tuscany Drive and Patricia Drive. So, so there might be a little bit of overlap as we go through the phases in which we may need to extend the utilities into other phases, but for the most part, it should balance out pretty good. We looked at that real carefully in trying to come up with the phasing plan.
I know Clayton's engineer's been working with our public works director and others on the utilities and how everything's going to work for the construction sets, so. There is some overlap.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we can look for a motion from one of you guys.
I can do it. Excuse me. I will make a motion, we recommend approval for the preliminary subdivision plat for the Pioneer Point subdivision located at 400 East and Patricia Drive, as it is documented in the application with the 16 recommendations from staff, as well as we're adding a 17th, which would be the temporary access.
All right,
Second,
okay, I've got a motion from Commissioner Weston, a second from Commissioner Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion.
Aye.
Oh, Sorry. That motion's unanimous. We'll move on to our next item agenda, which is Plan Commission approvals. So we have several, looks like sign approvals.
Yes.
Items 4B, 1, 2, and 3, but we'll start with items 4B1, the Posh Blow Dry Bar located at 3687 Pioneer Parkway, Suite 3. Bradley Slays, the applicant.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair, and I'll go through that. So this is a wall sign request for the Posh Blow Dry Bar located at 3687 Pioneer Parkway. This is in the Giovingo Building 2. The Planning Commission will recall that the other wall signs have come to you in the past for the Giovingo Building 1. That includes the Royal Thai, the Soda Mix, and the Aloe Care. This is Building 2. They have 4 retail tenants that are going in Building 2. 3 of those retail tenants are on the agenda tonight for wall sign approval. The 4th, Alfredo's A, will be coming to you in a couple weeks. So they just barely got theirs in and we've been reviewing it. So that next one will be coming. Our sign ordinance, chapter 1744, states that wall signs are allowed in a planned development commercial zone subject to planning commission approval. For this particular application or item, they're proposing 1 wall sign. And so our code indicates that wall signs may not exceed 10% of the total wall square footage of the wall on which the wall sign is placed. The applicant has provided calculations which indicate that 10% would allow for a sign of up to 72 square feet on the east building elevation. This wall sign includes internal illuminated white letters flush mounted to the building. The east building elevation wall sign facing the parking lot is proposed at 37.2 square feet. And this proposed wall sign does meet the criteria as set up in chapter 1744 of City Code, our sign ordinance. As you can see here, here's the sign in daylight facing east towards the parking lot, and this would be a night view. And the square footage is just over 37 square feet, internally illuminated with a white light. We don't have any issues of concern, and staff's recommending that the Planning Commission approve the proposed wall sign for Posh Blow Dry Bar located at 3687 Pioneer Parkway, Giovingo Building 2, subject to the following conditions. We have 2, that the east building elevation wall sign facing the parking lot be allowed at 37.2 square feet with internally illuminated white letters on a backer flush mounted to the building. And 2, that a building permit be applied for and obtained prior to placement of the wall signs on the building. And so that's what I have, Vice Chair. And we also have the applicant, Bradley Salah, on the Zoom, if you have any questions for him as a planning commission.
So one of these, don't all these staff reports, or sorry, I thought we talked about them being turned off at 10. Is that not applicable to this?
Not for this item, for the blow dry bar, because they don't have a sign on the west elevation. This one's only facing east. The next 2 both have rear signs facing west that would impact the neighbors behind them. And so for the next 2 items, we are concerned about that, but this one's just 1 sign on the east elevation only.
Okay. I don't have any questions for anybody.
I'll wake up Cody. I have to have a separate permit for a sign? It can't be attached to the actual, the permit for the TI?
We could attach it to that, but, well, it's loud tonight.
Yeah.
Typically, they come in at separate times, so we're not able to review it. So the easiest way is to process it with a separate permit.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to know if they could be attached, but, okay.
Yeah, if they came in at the same time, absolutely.
Okay.
We try to do them pretty quickly once they're approved. Once they go through a process, getting them the permit, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it.
If there's no further discussion, I'll look for a motion. Remember, this is a approval, not a recommendation.
Right.
I'll make that motion to approve the wall sign for the Posh Blow Dry Bar located at 3687 Pioneer Parkway, Giovingo Building number 2, with the 2 recommendations. by the staff.
I will second that.
Okay, I got got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Move on to item 4B. 2, Thrive Drip Spa Wall Signs, 368 Pioneer Parkway, Suite 1.
Yes, and this applicant is also Bradley Salah. And again, this is at 3787 Pioneer Parkway, the second building of Geovango. Our code allows wall signs in the planned development commercial zone, subject to planning commission approval. This particular application does include 2 signs. And so they've provided calculations, and the applicant has provided, the calculations indicate that 10% would allow for a sign of up to 73.5 square feet on the east building elevation, with a sign up to 70.82 square feet on the west building elevation. The east wall sign includes internally illuminated letters flush mounted to the building. The east building elevation wall sign facing the parking lot is proposed at 28.7 square feet. So this is actually the end unit, and out here is Pioneer Parkway. And so they're showing that at 28.7 square feet. Here it is in the daylight, here it is in the evening, so it is internally illuminated. And then they're showing a mock-up of the rear elevation. So this is along the drive-through facing west towards the single-family neighborhood. We have some homes there, but we also have a lot that's still vacant, but it's zoned residential and somebody owns it and can build a home there anytime. So it does abut or back onto that residential area. This is what it would look like at night. This one's a little bit bigger at 28.64 square feet. These signs do meet the criteria as set up in the sign code. City staff is concerned with the wall sign on the west side of the building, as it includes internal illumination. This side of the building faces a single-family residential neighborhood. The Planning Commission will recall that the wall signs for Geovango Building 1, not Building 2, typo, that south elevation which faces those residents, for the Royal Thai Sodamix and Aloe Urgent Care, were required to be turned off nightly at close of business or no later than 10 p.m. City staff is recommending that this be required for all wall signs on the west elevation of this building as well, so it would apply to this application. Planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the proposed wall signs for Thrive Drip Spa located at 3787 Pioneer Parkway. It's in Geovango Building 2. And we have 4 conditions. First, that the east building elevation wall sign that faces the parking lot be allowed at 28.7 square feet with internally illuminated letters flush mounted to the building. Second, the west building elevation wall sign be allowed at 28.64 square feet with a halo light illumination flush mounted to the building. Third, the wall sign on the west side of the building, which is illuminated, be turned off nightly at the close of business or no later than 10 p.m. And then fourth, that they have to obtain a building permit. And I'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair.
So is this west sign, is it west or is it on the north side? Because this thing says side view. So is it on the back of the building?
It is on the back of the building. It's not
Is that going
north
to be
side.
visible once there's a house built there?
Yeah, and there's a couple houses there already that it would be visible to as well.
I meant like for people driving by.
You mean on the west? Yeah, they're gonna see it on the west as they drive north and south on east and west on Pioneer. The building, so this building is perpendicular to Pioneer Parkway, where the other one is parallel to
Right.
Pioneer Parkway. So this building, the front elevation is facing east towards the parking lot, the rear is west. And just talking about this at our TRC and at a staff level, we had the same concern with that lighting going into the neighborhood like we did with the first building. But that was on the south because that building's north-south orientation with signs on both sides.
Right.
But that was the south elevation, and it's further away from the homes. We have some homes that, a couple homes that may only be about 50 feet away from portions of this building, behind a wall, but they're quite close.
I just wonder how visible it will be from
Yeah.
people on Pioneer Parkway after the home's built, but
Well, it depends on the size of the home,
yeah.
you know, and the next one wants that rear, you know, right now there is no home, and that subdivision's been platted for a while, so it's sitting, but there is a development right to build a home on that lot at some point in time. I don't know what they're gonna build, whether it's a 1-story or 2-story. It's hard to
Okay.
say. but it would impact them and some of the other residents. That's our concern.
Are they putting a sign on the north wall on this unit?
Mm-mm. No, these want the east-west, where the other building was north-south.
Okay,
Yeah, and there isn't, it's just the edge. There isn't much space there.
okay.
Yeah. And the applicant's on, if you have any questions, Brad? Is he still on?
Yes, no questions for me so far.
No? Commissioners?
Nothing from me.
Nothing.
I'm good with the conditions of it being turned off, so it doesn't seem like you're gonna have a house pretty close to it, right in your backyard. The house is gonna get up higher too, so.
Yeah, and we did get a complaint from a neighbor on Royal Tie because they didn't turn it off, so we had to reach out to them. So that does happen, so.
Okay. Look for a motion.
A motion for approval.
I'm trying to get to it. Go ahead.
I got you. I motion that we approve the signage for the Thrive Drip Spa at 3687 Pioneer Parkway, Suite 1, as described in the plans given to us with the 5 recommendations? Or what is it?
Four conditions.
With the 4 recommendations.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Weston and a second by Commissioner Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 One passes. Next on to item 4B3, the Jersey Mike's wall signs at the similar location at 368 7 Pioneer Parkway.
Yep.
Building number 2.
Yep, again, our code allows wall signs in the planned development commercial zone subject to PC approval. They're proposing 2 wall signs. In this case, the applicants provided calculations which indicate that 10% would allow for a sign of up to 72 square feet on the east and west building elevations. The east and west wall signs both include internally illuminated letters on an aluminum backer flush mounted to the building. That's based on the drawing. The east building elevation wall sign facing the parking lot is proposed at 57 square feet, as well as the west building elevation sign. It's also proposed at 57 square feet. So this is the east wall facing the parking lot. That's 57 square feet. It does have their branding, but it's a white internally illuminated LED type of source. And then the back, this is not the correct rear, but it's the same building. This is on the back for some reason of Soda Mix and the urgent care building, which runs parallel to Pioneer Parkway, but it would be next to the one we just saw for the Thrive Drip Spa, both at 57 square feet. Here's the simulated night rendering. So they both meet the parameters of the code, which would allow up to 72 square feet per building elevation. They're at 57. City staff is concerned with the wall sign on the west side of the building as it includes internal illumination. The side of the wall faces a single-family residential neighborhood. Planning Commission will recall that the wall signs for Geovango Building 1, that south elevation were required to be turned off nightly at the close of business or no later than 10 p.m. City staff's recommending the same requirement for this wall sign for the Jersey Mike's on the west elevation. Planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the proposed wall signs for Jersey Mike's located at 3787 Pioneer Parkway, Geovango Building 2, as with the following conditions. 1, that the east building elevation wall sign facing the parking lot be allowed at 57 square feet with internally illuminated letters on an aluminum backer flush mounted to the building. 2, the west building elevation wall sign be allowed at 57 square feet with internally illuminated letters on an aluminum backer flush mounted to the building. 3rd, that the wall sign on the west side of the building, which is illuminated, be turned off nightly at the close of business or no later than 10 p.m. And 4th, that they obtain a building permit. Thank you. I'll turn back over to you, Commissioner Blake. And the applicant is Shauna Gapmayer, and I believe she's on the call. Are you with us, Shauna?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep. Thank you for joining us.
I guess I just have one question, and that is, what section of your code are you basing the decision on that it needs to be turned off at 10 p.m.?
Wasn't it approval of the zone?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wasn't
it
it
was,
conditions
it
on
was
the
part
staff
of the
order?
original site plan approval for the PDC zone and the project plan because they knew there would be an impact. And this applies to all the businesses that back on that residential neighborhood. So you have the Dollar Tree, you have O'Reilly's, and you have these two retail buildings that butt residential. And so it's just a matter of turning off a switch at night at the close of business, and our other retail tenants have agreed to it, to be good neighbors to the residents.
Okay, well, the only thing that I really wanted to know was what you were basing it on. So it sounds to
Sure.
me like you're basing it on an agreement between you and the developer, and not something that was in your actual city code. Is that correct?
It's
Well,
a condition of the zone, of the plan development zone approval.
right. They
Yeah.
had to go through a process to zone this commercial and to
Okay.
get that zoning to the commercial zone because it abuts residential homes. To
Okay.
get that rezoning and project plan approval, they had to make concessions, and one of which was to turn the signs off at night. And then they also have parking lot lights that are only 16 feet tall. So there's a lot of precautionary measures because of the residents next door.
Okay, I just, it's helpful for me to know
Yeah, yeah.
how that came about or where that was
Yeah.
written.
And if the owners have questions, we're happy to talk to them as well, but the others are compliant and in agreement to be good neighbors, so.
Well, it sounds to me like they might already know, might be aware.
Yes,
I just,
yeah,
it's not something I found in your code, so just wanted to know.
thank you,
Thank you.
yep.
Okay, I don't have any questions for this one, so.
My only question, Jim, is who enforces that? Only based on if a neighbor calls and complains?
Code enforcement, yeah, if we get a complaint, we got a complaint just a couple weeks ago, and we had to call out to an owner. And so, we'll have them drive by again and see if it's still a problem, but yes, it's code enforcement. Based on complaint. And some of the neighbors are very active and watch right there.
I look for a motion.
I'll move to approve the Jersey Mike's wall sign as presented, located at 3687 Pioneer Parkway, Geo Bingo Building 2, subject to the 4 conditions stated in the staff report.
I second that.
I got a motion by Commissioner Harris, a second by Commissioner Walton. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Motion moves unanimous. On to item 4B4, the election of a plan commission chair and vice chair for the remainder of 2023. So I guess we need to pick someone to replace Commissioner Hendrickson as the new chairman of the plan commission. Any thoughts on who you guys want that to be?
Well, the obvious choice is just
Bump me up.
pump up the chain there.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I did get from Curtis Whitehead, who apologized for not being here, he thought you'd be good at that too. Commissioner Blake.
So.
I'm in agreement.
Agreeance, okay. Yeah, I guess I have to accept that or whatever, but you guys will vote me in no matter what. But any thoughts on vice chair? My thought would be just have, since Commissioner Walton's new, just to have, Curtis, Commissioner Whitehead do it for you vice chair if I can't show up or something. I know he has a conflict for football, that's only in the football season, right?
He indicated
3
to me
months.
that it's going to be over in the next, they've got a couple more games based on playoffs. But
Yeah.
he also said that I have a feeling they may pick me since I'm not going to be there. Yeah, because this has happened before. So we
That's
need
the main reason I'm zooming in.
yeah, and so we need a motion and a vote for those 2 positions.
Okay.
I make a motion that we appoint Logan Blake, the chair of the Planning Commission, and Curtis Whitehead as the vice chair.
She went right to it.
Second.
Second, okay, we got a motion from Commissioner Walton, a second from Commissioner Harris to appoint me, Commissioner Blake, as chair, and Commissioner Whitehead as vice chair for the remainder of this year, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We do it every year.
I think so.
We
Yes.
change it up. Okay.
Yes, the
Changes
way
up every
the way
January.
the code is written is we elect a new vice chair, a chair and vice chair the first meeting of the new year, so in January. That doesn't mean a chair can't serve for more than 1 term. Commissioner Weston has served for multiple terms. I believe you,
3.
yeah, you were at least
But that was
2+
over
years.
COVID too.
Yeah,
technically.
and then he decided to give someone else an opportunity, but really, I think up to 2 terms is good, but I think everybody should get an opportunity, so. It just doesn't need to be the same person year in and year out, so.
So, that motion is approved, so we'll go with those 2 chairmen for the next couple months and see what we get in January. The next item would be to approval of, do we have any discussion items? Says none, so approval of minutes from the September 28 meeting. I reviewed those, I think they're good to go for approval.
Didn't find anything.
So, Shelley, do you have any, did you were able to look at them? We good?
I don't think I was there.
Oh, you
So,
weren't there?
anyway, yeah, so
I did read them.
they're fine with me.
Yes, you weren't there, yep.
Yeah.
You're excused.
I can make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from, what day was that?
September
28th.
Yes.
Got a motion from Commissioner Walton,
I'll second that.
and a second from Commissioner Weston. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve those minutes, and then, yeah, I guess there's anything else we need to discuss at this time?
Just that we will have a meeting on November 9th in 2 weeks. We have a number of items. We've been waiting for a bigger planning commission meeting, and I think we're going to have 5, maybe 6 items on that agenda. We will not meet on November 23rd. That's Thanksgiving Day. So, but a plan for, we're going to have a good-sized agenda on November 9th. So,
Okay,
thank you.
do we do motions for adjournment in this meeting? So if we
Yeah.
want to?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shelley, for calling in. Appreciate you.
Mm.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Where's the button?